Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition is Rocket Knight Adventures, brought to us by Konami. Rocket Knight Adventures is a very fun and well-executed action platformer where you play as a Rocket Knight. Yep, you have a rocket strapped to your back and you're able to blast through enemies, either attacking them with your sword or actually plowing straight through. The uniqueness of the jetpack itself lends for some very fun and interesting platforming segments. However, the game does have some pretty good difficult spots, but it's one of those games where its difficulty is just enough that you'll want to keep on playing and trying to get through. So here we go with Rocket Knight Adventures for the Sega Genesis. There are 4 difficulties. I'll be playing on the normal difficulty, as there's also an easy and pretty much a very easy, as well as a hard mode, where you only get 1 hit before losing a life and only 1 extra life and no continues. Just a little bit too rich for my blood. When you start the game, you're treated to a nice colorful cutscene before jumping into the first level. When the game starts up, you'll look at the top of the screen. You get to see the current amount of lives you have in the upper left, your score, as well as your current health, represented by the hearts, and your charge meter for your rocket pack. There are several different ways to go about attacking enemies. Like I mentioned, you can just straight up attack them with your sword. You can charge forward into a blast, launching into enemies in various different directions with your rocket pack, or you can actually stand still with your rocket pack and do a spin-like attack. All of these are very useful in different spots, and experimenting with them is one of the fun aspects of Rocket Knight Adventures. The game has a great presentation with some really nice backgrounds as well as very colorful graphics, with a very animated main character. Sparkster shows a lot of emotion throughout the game, whether just standing still or in various other cutscenes, and even just as normal attacks. Be sure to blast up in the front of those trees to grab an extra life, and when you make it over here, you'll have to take out 4 of the Pig Knights before the first sub-boss of the game begins. This guy is, well, a pig tank, and he has his main move of moving towards you, which will damage you badly, as well as firing 2 different types of blasts. Either fire that will come out of the front, that'll move up and down a little bit, or just blasting straight cannonballs out of the center cannon. Deliver enough hits to the top of him and he'll blow up to the second part of the battle, which will have him bouncing around the room itself, and you'll have to straight up attack him. This is a good opportunity actually to use your spin attack, as you can wait for him to just come to you and use the spin over and over again to keep dealing damage. Or you can do like me and try to keep him up in the air by attacking over and over again. Every time you deliver a hit, he'll go backwards. The next segment of the level has you actually flying with a permanent blast, and I love the fact that he actually even equips goggles during this part. This is kind of a scrolling shooter style level, as you'll have several enemies coming at you from the right side as you're flying over. There's some really nice effects on the water itself, and you can see some nice ripples when you get closer to the water. After a bit, it'll be time for the boss here. This giant snake will come out from the left side, so don't be too far close to the middle of the screen. You want to be upper left corner. And then as he starts moving into the screen, you can attack him either directly in the back of the head, or wait for him to go by, and he'll start his normal attack cycle. If you're quick, you can get rid of him before he's able to get any of his major moves off. You'll then blast into the castle, where you can see all heck is broken loose here, as fire is everywhere. Be very careful, of course, not to land in the fire, and you'll have to deal with a few of the pig enemies as well. Use a diagonal blast in order to bounce off the walls up to here. During this segment, fire will come from the right side, and it comes in waves of 3, and it does this 3 times. With a center blast, and then a slightly upper blast, and then one closer to the ground. Staying at the right spots, you can avoid all of these blasts altogether. After a set of these 3, you'll find the next door. Do another one of those diagonal blasts into the wall to bounce your way up a few times, and you'll find another door as you're collecting jewels along the way. Since the game has a pretty limited amount of lives and continues, it's a good idea to try to get as many points as you can from grabbing these crystals so you can get some extra lives. Be sure to blast straight up into the air here though to grab that extra life before going to the next door. I love the cutscene of the pig busting out of the present. Take him out once he is out, and grab the bananas for some health if you need it before entering the actual first boss of the game. This giant caterpillar-like boss will blast in from 3 different holes and then come in from the left and right side, giving you ample opportunity to hit him each time he comes down. He'll come down one more time in the center before then unleashing his horde of little spiky guys. These little bugs will start crawling around the room, and after he's done enough sets of 2 that would cover the complete screen, he'll throw out a red one that will blink and flash. Once you deliver a hit to that one, though, it will destroy all of them, and he'll go back to his next cycle, which will have him coming usually down the center, and his tail popping out of the right or left wall, usually starting with the right, and then the tail out of the left. Make sure that you run to the opposite side of the screen, and try to get in any hits you can when he's popping down. Once you deliver enough hits to him, though, you've completed the first level, and we move on to stage number 2. Stage number 2 starts off in the water, and we immediately start with a boss enemy. Jump up into the air straight up and do the spinning attack by not pressing any directions on the directional pad while charging up your rocket. Do this a lot, and while doing it, you're invincible for a short period of time, so even when he's swinging the mace ball hands like around, you'll be able to dodge any damage from this. He changes up the pattern a little bit, and when he does and starts directly attacking you straight up with the mace balls, jump out of the water and deliver some hits directly to his big red nose. Once he's exploded, we continue on in the area. There's several enemies here, but I usually like to use the rocket to just either blast through the water or blast over top of these guys altogether. Right when you make it to the edge of the waterfall, blast straight into the air for another extra life, and then start riding on the vines. You'll have to use the rocket to blast across, and on these platforms, while you're standing on them, if you go through the waterfall, you'll be in the background, being able to avoid all the spiky death that is surrounding us. The next boss fight has us dealing with a large snake-like enemy, and you have to hit him directly in the red ball at the end of his tail. The platforms here, when you land on top of them, will go in and out of the waterfall, so you'll either be in the foreground or the background. Some really nice graphical effects here. Deliver enough hits to the tail, though, and he'll be defeated, and you can grab some apples for a little bit of extra health before the next segment of the stage. Drop down to the water below and watch out for spikes as you're going in and out, up and down throughout this area. There's a few bat-like owl enemies here, and there's some health in the upper right corner in the form of a banana if you need it before dropping down here and going through another set of spikes. When you come up the next part, head to the right, be careful of the spikes lining both now the ceiling and the ground, and just blast on through. Now begins probably the toughest segment of this stage. You're riding a minecart, and as you can tell from most video games, minecarts usually equal some death. Be sure to be ducking anytime you see one of those cautionary signs, as spikes are about to line the ceiling, and if you touch one of them, it's an instant death. During this segment, you're just going to be battling pigs left and right as they throw bombs. Just do your best to try to watch out for not only the bombs, the pigs, but also, of course, a little bit of explosion that they leave behind. After you've killed quite enough of these pigs, we'll be able to continue along the minecart track. Be very careful when it starts to flash as you're reaching the end, and you're going to have to jump off and onto a building, then onto another minecart. Here you'll immediately duck, and you'll have to do a transfer between several minecarts in a row. Make sure to duck underneath this set of spikes, and now you'll see 2 tracks, one that you're on and one in the background, where you'll have to deal with more pigs throwing bombs. Just stand about in the center and keep jumping at a nice timely pace, throwing out swords whenever you can in order to hit the pigs as they emerge. We're not quite done this segment yet, as we blast through a barn and chickens go flying everywhere. The minecart that we're on will start flashing a lot, and eventually we'll be able to land safely on a building. The next minecart, though, it's time for the boss of the stage. It starts in the left side, blasting you with cannon fire directly from the front. Keep attacking and jumping over the blast. If you get close to him, you can hit him a lot without him being able to hit you. After destroying the front of the tank train, it will go off screen. Now you'll move on to the second part, where you'll have 2 tracks here. Your goal here is to attack the arms of this giant train. Now, thankfully, the parts of the arms don't hurt you, just the hands themselves. So you can kind of get used to attacking them and using your different moves to your advantage, but keep doing damage to them and moving and waving in and out of here. Also, when you deliver attacks to most bosses and enemies in the game, they won't hurt you, so you can usually get them stuck in a little bit of a loop, hitting them multiple times before they're able to get control of themselves again. After destroying both hands, you'll move on to the final part here. Now you'll be attacking the back of the train and have to watch out for bouncy blue balls that spits out the back. This will be tough, especially if you're probably already low on health from the long battle that we've already been dealing with. Keep delivering hits to the back and watch out as the train will slowly creep towards the left side. If you hit it enough, you'll be able to destroy it though before it even gets to that left side. After delivering enough hits though, he will explode and we move on to stage number 3. Oh boy, does the difficulty start to ramp up in stage number 3. The beginning part of it has a really cool reflection effect. However, the water, or lava, or electrified water, whatever it's supposed to be, will kill you instantly when you land on it. You'll have to use the reflection, though, for some really cool platforming. Being able to see the platforms in the reflection even when they're behind the scenery that's in the front of the level. Time your jumps accordingly so you can get through the area and watch out for the rising electrified water and move on to the next part. Here the water's going up and down, but thankfully it doesn't kill us here as we start off already swimming in it. Use your rocket blast to blast over all these spikes and get through areas quickly. If you time it just right with a lot of these, you'll be able to get through the areas as the water is decreasing already and not accidentally hit the spikes at all. At the end of this segment, though, is another mini-boss. Now, for this mini-boss, you'll have to attack the center core of him. However, to get to it and be able to do damage to it, though, we're going to have to take out one, or not both, of the pincers on the left and right side of him. Now, you can destroy both of these, but I recommend only taking out one because it'll change up the enemy's attack pattern. Once you've destroyed one, then focus on the head. The timing on being able to hit him directly center is a little bit weird. As you can see, I float just a little bit down, enough that I can deliver a hit to the boss, and if I go too far down, not only will I run into him, but I'll miss my attack altogether. Pay close attention to the left claw, as it will try to come over to your side and pinch you, but if you time it just right, you'll be able to avoid all of those hits. The next segment is more lava. Here, you'll have to watch out and not land in the lava, as it'll be an instant death. There's spikes lining the ceiling that will also kill you. And you'll have this weird AT-AT-like walker that's moving throughout the lava. Stand on it while it's in the lava and jump off of it when it's not in the lava so that you don't either hit the lava or spikes. There's several bat owl enemies throughout this area, but they shouldn't pose too much of a threat to you. Once you reach the edge of the segment, go through the opening. It's time for the boss fight here. Now this boss is a giant fish robot that will start moving its mouth up and down, and when it does, it'll start eating up all these little tiny platforms. They move really quick, so use the ones that are slowly floating down from the upper left to your advantage. After a while, they'll all stop and everything will fall, and 2 big platforms will appear on the left and right side. Get on the right side here. You'll be able to catch several health items, and after dodging a set of fireballs, you'll be able to attack the pig that is actually controlling the robot. This is how you actually deal damage to the boss. When he's on the left side though, the platforms coming down from the upper right will move quickly, where the ones on the ground level of the lava will move slowly. Either way, he'll pop back out and start spitting more lava and more bananas so you can get some more health if you do need it. Of course, this isn't going to help you on the hardest difficulty. After delivering a few more hits, the platform we're standing on the right will explode and we repeat the process. It doesn't take too many hits, thankfully, to defeat this boss, as it can be really tough. And don't worry, unless you're playing on that hardest difficulty, the lava will not kill you instantly. You'll be able to at least land in it once, maybe twice, before losing your life. And since the boss actually gives you some bananas, at least there's a little plus to this. After delivering enough hits to the boss, though, we will move on to level number 4. Stage number 4 has us inside of a giant airship. We will come along to the princess, who will then explode, revealing it was just a decoy. I love the animations on Sparkster himself here. Now for this boss, what you're going to have to do is jump up and reflect back the bombs that he throws at you by using your sword to attack them directly back. It'll take a little bit of timing, but if you get in the right motion, it'll just be like clockwork, hitting him over and over again before he's defeated. Blast up into the opening at the end of the area. Now you'll be on the top of this giant airship. This segment has a little bit of Donkey Kong feel to it, as barrels will come careening from the right side towards you. There's 2 types of barrels, ones that just roll on the ground and ones that bounce. Anytime these hit you, they will cause you to fly back. If you stop moving, you'll fly back, and if you just use your rocket to try to boost forward, a lot of times whatever length you got ahead with the rocket will just end up falling back before you regain control of Sparkster. At the end of this segment, you'll be fighting some guys hanging here. You can drop down and grab an extra life, and here you'll have to battle the mini-boss of this area. You can hit him a few times by blasting straight down towards him as he's moving back and forth and firing a big flamethrower at you. After a few of these hits though, the little bomb guys that we dealt with for just a few seconds ago will start coming out of the ship itself, and you'll have to hit these, and when they fly up in the air and go off screen, if they land on top of the boss, they'll do damage to him. Getting the timing on these is a little bit tricky, but you don't have to hit him with too many before he's defeated. Once he's gone, you'll do a couple of swinging platforms. Just be very careful of these as they do move quickly. You'll see an arrow pointing towards the door and go inside here. This segment is a little bit of a pain because you're going to have these force spheres that appear, and if you're inside of them when it does appear, you will end up getting stuck for a few seconds. Take out the enemies and duck when going through to avoid the cannon fire that's being shot by the random enemies that are coming at you. It's a pretty long segment, but eventually you'll be able to make your way through. Be sure to grab the banana before going through the door at the end for the boss fight of the level. Here we have a giant pig-like robot that loves to dance a little bit and drop down objects from the ceiling, trying to get hypnotized by the hips that are swaying back and forth from this thing as it goes out of control. After a lot of debris has fallen, you'll have the opportunity to actually deliver damage to it, as the core will now open up. Jump up in the air, watching out for the giant blast, and deliver only a handful of hits in order to defeat him. Once it's defeated though, the actual guy will start running around the level as well. Every time you attack, he will jump, so you'll be able to get some nice hits on him and have him just jump over your body as long as you time it correctly. Deliver enough hits to him though and you'll complete level number 4. The next level begins with us in a side-scrolling area. You'll be attacked by missiles that you cannot harm, so you'll have to dodge in and out of them. They always come through the same pattern, so a few times through this level you'll kind of get the idea of the missiles and as well as the gunfire that's going to be attacking you. After a set of missiles and gunfire, you'll be battling some pig knights that'll be flying in on some balloons. Just hit them once simply in order to drop them so you don't have to deal with them. Right after destroying the last one though, be on your toes and be in about the center of the screen. This way you'll have a good advantage of being able to dodge out the next set of missiles that are going to come your way. After they go all the way back over to the right and then come back to the center, it'll then switch up to firing 3 at a time. Just continue to dodge in between these. Staying near the top of the screen will give you a good advantage, and when you see one with a pig attached to it, you know you're at the end, and it's time for the boss of this area. In order to do damage to this ship, you'll have to attack and destroy the force field in the front. You can see it represented by the little pie-looking shapes in the front. Just keep attacking it until it's destroyed. After you destroyed all of its force fields, you'll be able to directly attack the pig inside. They'll have a couple of different types of fire, including a large spread that covers most of the screen. Just dodge in the correct spot and then continue doing damage to them. After you destroy the first part of this ship, he will blast off screen, and after a little bit he'll come back on, allowing us to attack him some more. Here his attack pattern changes as he will fire out a big circle-like attack that can be really tough to dodge. Just focus on him and deliver enough hits and eventually he will go off screen and we move on to the next segment of the stage. Once inside here, be sure to grab the 1-up, because trust me, we're probably going to need it here. Go through the portal at the end. Now in the next segment, you'll have to quickly move in and out and work your way down in order to get down before the robots that are chasing you get down. When you reach the bottom, go right through the teleport, and as long as you're quick and the robots haven't gotten down there, you'll be able to continue. Here, blast forward in order to avoid the robots, and then hurry up as you'll have to do another area, traversing it quickly while robots are also chasing you. Hit the button at the end to drop the robots into the lava, and then go through the teleport. Now, this is the tricky one. Destroy the pillar, and of course the ceiling will start collapsing on you, and you'll have to move in and out and platform along so you don't get crushed. The first little bit is pretty easy as you'll be able to move quickly, but even just a hair off, you're going to die. What you're going to want to do during these hallway segments is use the bouncing diagonal shots to get through. While there's probably a few strats here, I do find using the diagonal blast in order to be the best to get through this. After probably several attempts your first time through, you'll be on another segment here. This introduces these vehicles. When you attack one of the orbs with the arrows, it'll go in that direction. In order to stop it from going in that direction, hit that same arrow again. Practice a little bit in this room, because the next room we're going to have to really put our skills to the test immediately. In this area, the walls and ground are going to be covered with spikes, and they're going to be instant death if you run into them. You're going to have to use a little ship that we're riding on to move up and down appropriately to maneuver in and out of those spikes. This segment alone can be very frustrating and will probably take several attempts to get through. The good thing is, if you can get about halfway through it or so, there actually is an extra life so that you can keep your life count up and keep trying over and over. Here's that one-up I was talking about, and you'll have to quickly get up out of the area in order to avoid hanging the spikes if you want to be able to grab it. It does take a little while and a lot of practice, but once you get through it, it'll be time for the boss fight of this segment with Axel Knight. Now, well, this segment alone can be extremely frustrating. Well, in fact, this whole level, as you've noticed, can be that. We're going to quickly blast through and use the diagonal blast to help us. Make sure that you do one here, right at the right moment, and you'll blast straight up. If you run into him, you will instantly be killed. There's a one-up along the way, and eventually you will make it to your own giant pig robot, and it's time for some Rock'em Sock'em robots. Now, this can be either really enjoyable or extremely, well, annoying. Deliver hits when he's coming toward you. Eventually, after about 4 or 5 hits, he'll stop coming directly at you. What you'll have to do is time your hits accordingly. Don't follow him when he's backing up. There's no point in chasing him. Let him come to you and deliver the hits when you can. The timing on this, well, is going to take some time to get used to. And after you deliver about 9 or so hits, you'll defeat him and we'll be moving on to level number 6. Level number 6 is another scrolling area, and with the enemies coming at you, it's kind of reminiscent of some of the other Konami shoot-em-ups that you may have played before. You have a good freedom of movement during the course of this, and there's going to be several different types of enemies to battle throughout the entire scrolling area. On these guys, be sure to hit a few, and some will drop some apples, so even if you end up getting hit, you may be able to grab a couple apples to get some of your health back. In this next segment, be in the little bit of the center of the screen, just a little bit off sometimes, so that you can avoid some of the asteroids that may come up and sneak up from behind. The ships that are blasting through that aren't the asteroids will fire missiles, and they fire about 6 or 7 missiles or so at a time. Every once in a while, you'll be encased in a circle of little robots. Destroy the right one, and you'll be able to stop all of them. For these guys, they'll come at you straight up with their shield, and you won't be able to hit them. So you'll have to wait for them to pull back the shield, and usually when they do, they will immediately start blasting lasers at you. They can also throw a spike ball with spikes all around it coming at you, which is their shoulder, I think, and you'll have to avoid that as well. Next up, you'll have some of the regular pig soldiers, though, as they have big mace balls on them that they will use to swing around. And then Axel Knight himself will attack you with a huge laser. Watch out for the laser when it comes out, and just keep delivering punishment to him as much as you can. The faster you get rid of Axel Knight, the better here. After enough hits, though, he will go off screen, and if he comes out in the center just like he was about to again, be sure to get away after a few seconds as he's about to do that big giant laser again. After another wall of health and the screen starts flashing red, it's time for the boss fight. The boss for level number 6 is a giant ship, and this can take a lot of practice. It'll start off with a bunch of cannons firing at you from below. Move in front of the ship and just down in front of it before it ends up colliding with the right side of the screen so it doesn't run directly into you. Now, it has several different types of fire. The key here during this fight, though, is to if you're gonna get hit by the bullets, because you won't take as much damage as running directly into the giant ship itself. After circling the entire ship and getting back to the bottom, it will start to teleport to a few different locations. Just be out of the way when it finally comes back fully on screen so you're not in the middle of it and taking damage. When it emerges from the upper right screen, it's time to actually battle and do some more damage to it. You'll see a panel open up at the very bottom. Keep attacking this panel until eventually it ends up blowing up, and once you do, he'll teleport again. You'll be in front of the ship and have to attack directly in the front. Keep doing some damage, but be very careful. Eventually he will open up and start firing a lot of fire at you. You can actually a lot of times destroy this front part of the ship before he is able to even get his shots off. The front compartment will then blast off to the left side of the screen, exposing the main core of the ship. Keep attacking it until the ship is destroyed. Do not try to attack the thing on the left side. And after it's destroyed, the left little capsule will move to the center and then sprout arms and legs. Here you're going to have to dodge several shots of spread fire, and then eventually will fire out a couple of these blue laser-like things that will chase you out. Once it dodges a couple of movements from that blue laser, it will fire out its core, in which case you can hit it to do damage. It'll then start jumping up and down across the screen. Be sure, of course, to avoid this, as it will do a ton of damage. The easiest way to avoid it is to stay on the top portion of the screen. Once it gets done jumping back and forth and you're able to do some successful dodging along the top part of the screen, the pattern will loop, having you dodge the spread fire, followed by that blue laser, and then being able to finally attack the core again. This will take several hits, and unfortunately there's no way to do multiple hits of damage to it, so you'll just have to very slowly work down its health until it's finally defeated. While it may look like an opening at the bottom part of the screen when he's jumping across, you have a very good chance of being hit by it as its legs are moving up and down. The hit detection on the bottom portion of the ship, not very good at times. After enough hits, he will be defeated, and we're moving on to the 7th and final level of Rocket Knight Adventures. When the level begins, blast over to the right side and you're going to be battling the Pig King himself. Do a charge forward directly at him in order to do damage, as you can't damage him with your normal attacks. Every time you deliver a hit, he'll jump to the opposite side of the screen. Quickly move off of the wall that you bounce towards and get ready to jump over any projectile that he may fire at you. If you can get in a nice timed loop, you'll be able to hit him a bunch without him hitting you, and eventually he will explode. His body will then reform and it'll begin the second portion. Here you're going to have to do some spinning attacks up into the air in order to do damage. Dodge out of the way as his legs will come flying towards you and then he'll be pulled towards it himself. Keep delivering either spinning attacks or direct diagonal blast right towards him, and after several hits he will be defeated. Grab the health if you need it at the end of the area and move on to the next segment. Here, robots, giant Terminator-like pig kings will form. As you can see, well, the pig king was not really our true boss after all, and is really just merely a clone. In this room, well, it's time to battle Axel Knight again. Axel Knight has a pretty distinct pattern. After you deliver usually a couple of hits to him, he'll start bouncing around the room and start blasting his own blade attacks towards you. Don't stand directly in front of him. Instead, try to move around the screen a little bit and block back his fire until eventually he gives you an opening to deliver hits to him. Now, there is a trick that you can get him stuck in sometimes and get a nice little loop of attacking him over and over again, involving attacking him directly in the back, though this takes a lot of practice to get used to. After enough hits with your rival, he will spin off screen. Be careful when he does this, though, that you don't end up getting hit by him. You'll then be barely hanging on to one of these poles, and Axel Knight himself will blast in front of you. Use your spin attack, or just use a normal blast forward to hit him. Every time you hit him, though, he will usually fire missiles for the first part of this, so either blast forward to dodge those missiles, or do the spin to dodge them as well. After several hits, the missiles will go flying and he'll go off screen, but the battle's not over yet. Now he'll come back on screen. Continue to do what we've been doing by just blasting straight forward at him in order to deliver a stab directly to him. Take some timing to get used to this, but it shouldn't take too much practice to get it down. After enough hits, the screen will flash. Wait patiently for a few moments, and a teleporter will show up. You'll have to jump or blast forward in order to land in the teleporter to go to the next area. Here, more of those Terminator Pig King robots. Watch out for them using your diagonal blast or straightforward giant blast in order to just avoid them. Don't even bother with battling them. In the next room, use the springs to go through the center, and then you'll want to blast straight up into the air in order to go through the teleporter above you. Now comes the big boss. This giant ball is your, well, main boss for the game. After several moments, he will teleport and reappear, and your goal during this boss is to hit the red appendage that will pop out of one of the holes on him. All your Rocket Knight experience at this point will come in handy, as he will allow this thing to come out of any part of him, and you'll have to accordingly be able to bounce off the walls and go in the right diagonal and straight directions in order to hit him. After several hits, he'll do a series of lightning. As you can see, the lightning rods will come out of one of four sides, and he'll blast lightning in those directions. After doing this, he'll then retreat to doing a bunch of circle blasts. Watch out of the way of these, and after he goes in his full circle, it'll begin the next part of the fight. Here, he'll shoot lightning out of a large part of him, and reveal his weakness out of another. Dodge the lightning in between, and then jump up and attack him or bounce off walls, whatever you're going to need to do in order to deliver that next hit. Instead of using the lightning sometimes, though, he will do those circle blasts or ring blast instead. After enough hits, the music will change, and we'll begin the final segment here. Here he has a whole bunch of rings going around him, and what you're going to have to do is jump up into the air and deliver a hit straight on top of him in order to hit the weak spot. This is actually one of the easiest parts of this battle, as they always rotate in the same direction, so hanging out on the right side of him and then jumping straight up in the air in order to hit him. After a few of these, though, he will have that come out of a different area and start doing non-stop circle giant ring blast. Get in between these and look for the right opening. Wait for that weakness to show up and then deliver a rocket blast towards it. After a lot of these, he will explode and we move on to the final segment of the game. Here you'll jump into this escape pod and it's now time to escape this ship and then proceed to dodge the boss one more time. During this segment, you cannot hurt the final boss, you just have to dodge him. He'll fire out a couple of sets of rings and then blast towards you. He goes to where you currently are, so do your best to get out of the way of him. He'll then wave his giant arms in a wave-like pattern repeatedly. This is the same pattern he does, and you can easily move back and forth left and right in order to dodge the giant arms. Like I said, you can't harm him, this is just a survival battle. He repeats the same pattern over and over again as you slowly but surely near the planet down below. The hardest part is honestly just dodging him as he charges forward towards you. Once the screen turns red and you're entering the atmosphere, you know that you're getting close to the end here. After he flies off though, the battle is over, and you can sit back and enjoy the ending to Rocket Knight Adventure. So there you go guys, Rocket Knight Adventure for the Sega Genesis. Sparkster himself returned in not one, but two sequels directly after this one for SNES and one for the Sega Genesis, both designed by different teams and both completely different games, as well as a remake that was made a handful of years ago. Sparkster is a really cool mascot from Konami, and I wish they would have given him a little bit more love and brought him forward and made some newer games with him in a larger scale. And while Sparkster was born during the mascot craze of the early to mid 90s where every company needed an animal-like mascot, Sparkster stands out. The animations and overall graphical style and gameplay makes Rocket Knight Adventure one of the more stellar mascot games that came out during that time. The game can be very frustrating at times, and I don't really want to attempt the hardest difficulty, at least at the moment, and it's really only for the true hardcore Rocket Knight players. But I have to say the game gave me just enough challenge that it kept making me want to come back for more. As we see the presented by Konami screen, Sparkster will fly off to the left side and you'll get your congratulations, and of course it'll say try hard mode. Though I'm not exactly sure what happens if you do complete hard mode. I think it's really kind of more of the same, just that extra bit of challenge. But anyway guys, that will wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoy.